Hi, this is Kirod Roy, a teacher, facilitator, and an assistant coordinator of Faculty Higher Secondary School, North Guwahati. Let's begin the class. Hornbill, Chapter 2, We Are Not Afraid to Die If We Can All Be Together by Gordon Cook and Ellen East. Born on December 3, 1978, Gordon Cook is a two-time Canadian Olympic sailor. He sails for the Royal Canadian Yacht Club. He is the son of Stephen Cook and Linda Cook. He had a great interest in writing stories too. Ellen East, an experienced litigator, manager and legal trainer, co-founded a niche legal practice specializing in criminal litigation and prison law. He is also a co-founder of a multi-academy trust, Central Academies in UK, which aims in improving standards in secondary education. We Are Not Afraid to Die If We Can All Be Together is a story of undaunted courage and strong determination of the narrator in course of his round-the-world voyage. It narrates his war of survival with the tumultuous water and gigantic waves in the southern Indian Ocean. The narrator of the story was a 37-year-old businessman who wanted to duplicate the round-the-world voyage like the famous explorer Captain James Cook made 200 years ago. The narrator and his wife had cherished this dream of exploring time since long. For the past 16 years, they had been honing or improving their seafaring skills in British waters. They built a large boat named Wave Walker, which was 23 meters long and 30 ton in weight with a wooden hull. After building the boat in a professional way, they tested it in the roughest weather. When they were satisfied with all the tests, they set sail in July 1976. The crew included the narrator and his wife Mary, their son Jonathan, who was 6 years old, and daughter Suzanne, who was 7 years old. With a determination to go round the world, they set sail from Plymouth, England. They had to cover a distance of 105,000 kilometers in 3 years, and the first leg of their planned voyage up to Cape Town, the west coast of Africa, passed pleasantly. But before heading east, the narrator hired two crewmen, American Larry Vigil and Swiss Herb Ziegler, as they had to face one of the world's roughest seas, that is the southern Indian Ocean. Leaving Cape Town, they started facing strong winds which continued for a few weeks. But the gales were not as frightening as the waves, which were up to 15 meter high, almost touching the main mast. On 25th December, their boat Wave Walker was 3,500 kilometers east of Cape Town. And despite all odds, they celebrated Christmas wonderfully. They hoped for a change of weather for their onward voyage. The weather did change, but for the worse. At dawn, on 2nd January, the waves were gigantic. They were sailing with slow pace, only 8 knots. The boat rose to the top of each wave that approached them. The wind screamed. To slow the boat down, they dropped the storm sail and put a heavy rope in a loop across the stern, which is the back part of the boat. They went through their life raft drill, equipped themselves with lifelines, oilskins and life jackets, and awaited the impending danger. Later in the evening, a vertical and huge wave, twice the size of the other waves, hit the boat and the narrator was thrown off. His head hit against the wheel. He accepted his approaching death and started losing consciousness. When the boat was near capsizing, a huge wave hit again and turned it right back. The narrator suffered several injuries. He was tossed around the deck. His left rib cracked, broke his teeth, and mouth filled with blood. But he managed to grab the wheel and hung onto it. There was water everywhere, but the narrator could not leave the wheel and go to the other parts of the boat to investigate. Meanwhile, Mary appeared from the front hatch. The narrator instructed her to take the wheel and he went down to check on the other members. Larry and Herb were pumping out water from the boat like madmen. The narrator went into the children's cabin and found that they were safe. Sue, his daughter, reported that she got hurt and had a bump on her head, but the narrator ignored because his concern was to save the boat. He took some tools like hammer, screw, canvas, etc. and started making repairs to prevent the boat from sinking. He secured the hatch covers with waterproof canvas and deflected the streaming of water over the side. Adding to their problem, the hand pumps got blocked and electric pump inside the cabin short-circuited. The water level rose threateningly. Back on the deck, the narrator found 2 spare hand pumps. Then he remembered of another electric pump in the chat room. He connected it to an outpipe and it worked. The night was bitterly cold. They were pumping and draining water, steering and working on the radio. They even sent mayday calls which were not replied, as they were in the remote corner of the world. Sue, on the other hand, had a swollen head and got black eyes due to injury. She also had a deep cut on her arm. On being asked by her father, she told him she didn't want him to worry as he was trying to save them. By morning on January 3rd, the situation got under control. The narrator decided to work in rotation and rests. It had been 15 hours that they had survived the fatal waves, but the boat was badly damaged and there were numerous leaks below the waterline, and reaching Australia with those leaks was literally impossible. So the narrator checked the charts and found 2 small islands. One of them was the Isle Amsterdam, a French scientific base. Their only hope was to reach there now, but their auxiliary engine was out of action because of the wave hit, which made their chances of reaching there low. On January 4th, after pumping out water for 36 hours, only a few centimeters of water was left in the boat. Sails could not be set on the main mast because the pressure would pull the damaged hull apart. So they hoisted the storm jib and headed for the islands. They had some corned beef and cracker biscuits, which was their first meal in almost 2 days. At 4 p.m. the weather again became ominous. Black clouds started building, wind was back to 40 knots. The weather remained bad throughout the night. By dawn on January 5th, the narrator went to comfort the children. Jonathan asked the narrator if they were going to die. The narrator assured him that they would make it. After that, what Jonathan said had left the narrator speechless. He said, "We are not afraid to die if we can all be together." The narrator was now filled with determination to fight the mighty sea. But the struggle continued. The narrator decided to protect the weakened starboard side, facing the oncoming waves. That evening, the narrator and his wife Mary sat together holding hands, thinking that their end was near. The children, in their own little way, were continuously giving moral support to him. By the morning of January 6th, the wave walker sailed through the storm and made it. The narrator tried to calculate their position with all possible means, like reading the sextant, working on wind speed, drifts, currents, changes of course, etc., and found that they were in 150,000 kilometers of ocean looking for a 65 kilometers wide island. While he was thinking, Sue joined him and gave him a self-made card expressing her love towards the family. After brainstorming, at about 2 p.m. the narrator asked Larry to steer a course of 185 degrees. He said that if they were lucky, they could hope to see the island by 5 p.m. Then, with a heavy heart, he went to doze off. At 6 p.m. Jonathan and Sue came in and woke the narrator up. The narrator knew they must have missed the island. But Jonathan gave a hug to the narrator and said that he was the best daddy in the world and the best captain. Sue voiced out that he had found the island. The narrator shouted with joy. In front of them was the Isle of Amsterdam, as big as a battleship. They anchored their boat offshore for the night. Next morning, they were cheered by all 28 inhabitants of the island who helped them ashore. With land under his feet again, the narrator began to think about their struggle, determination and optimism under the direst stress. Their hard work and struggle finally saved them.